So hereby I've, of course, invited, as you can see, Sebastian Fuchs, who is the MD of Manheim and RMS Automotive in Europe, who are both part of Cox Automotive. Now, looking at this title, he's asking us to use a bit of imagination today. So the stage is yours, Sebastian.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you. Always here to help small industries. So I'm sure Optrol is going to fix the problems, and they're going to be later on today. Quite interesting first presentation of Silvan, and I think my presentation quite nicely connects to your last point about the trade-in. That's what I actually want to talk a little bit about today. A presentation that, yeah, I want to take you on a little journey. Just imagine, I guess, is the answer, and I guess imagine in a way that it's actually not that far away. But if we want to see perfected what just seen before, then we have to make a couple of strides, I would say, namely in the part exchange. And yeah, I'll start with a statement, and I'll say the trade-in experience today is probably still behind the curve when it comes to the overall experience. Now, we all know there's various reasons for it, and I want to take you on a journey today a little bit about like how could, and probably also start with the why. Why is it actually so important? So yeah, let's look at a couple of stats here. Those of you who are many years in industry will know that when you want to buy a new car, it's more than 50% of customers are actually coming with a part exchange. Now, arguably, that number will go down and up depending on the year, depending on the market that you're in, depending on where your customer comes from. But give or take, it's 50%. Now, reality is 33% of deals fall through because of a disagreement of the user on his beloved current car and the valuation that the dealer is giving. So yeah, very often that trade-in becomes a real cracker. We've done some looking in our Modix business. We've queried some of our customers, and we found out that actually 90% of the buyer's first point of research is online now, and it's buying, right? So clearly the customers are coming via the internet, and they want to continue that journey. I mean, much as we saw in Silvan's presentation, Amazon paved the way, Carvana's paved the way in the US. I think very clearly here in continental Europe now, we're seeing with companies like Cazoo, but also CarNext, Cinch, Driverama, which actually, Johan, proves the point. Driverama, you don't need to have a C in your name. Let's see how successful they will be. But yeah, there's many of these companies are actually storming to the market. But I also want to actually, break a little bit of a sword here for the existing OEMs, and I think a lot of the traditional OEMs are actually going to that direction. Obviously within their frameworks with dealer contracts and everything in place. But a lot of actually existing OEMs are actually working down the road of going direct to the consumer, as well as obviously other new form OEMs. When I say new form, I mean like really companies that are coming from China, or electric companies such as NIO or Great Wall. They're all looking to use this direct channel, right? So really that trade-in becomes pivotal, because if you don't have all the services that a dealer does today anymore, then you're really at a point where it becomes a real issue. So yeah, McKinsey did a study and really said the obvious back in that study, that all the points need to be connected, and the customer really expects that. And I think what I'm going to talk to you about in the next slides really show this. Because we're all customers of, be it an Amazon, be it a Google, be it a Netflix, be it all these modern services that are seamless, painless, and quick to enter, but also quick to leave. And this is kind of a trend. It's something that and I refer myself to the older generation. We're getting used to it. Well, imagine the younger generation. They never ever had the pain of the old ways of doing things. So it is becoming more and more important, because there's a generation growing up that's just going to look at the old process and say, like, my God, I cannot be bothered to go down that route. So let's talk about the issue with the online part exchange. What is it actually that makes it so problematic? And that's the interesting thing. We've talked about online. Well, here is the point. What is it actually that happens to the point of Silvan's presentation about what Carvana does on the sales front to build up trust with the customer is exactly what needs to be built the other way around, because here it's now about the entrepreneur, the company, that needs to build up trust to the consumer that he actually informs correctly about his car. And so that the entrepreneur can put the best possible price on that car without taking too much of a risk. And well, what are the common defaults on that journey? Let's start to think about it. And let's start to talk about, like, how can it actually be done? And I've taken the freedom to actually bend a little bit our current self-inspection app that we use in our Manheim Express platform in Germany. Since about February, we are live with this. So what you see here on the left-hand side is the process starting with really simple for a customer. Go and scan your VIN. Basically, there's a pop-up window that then opens up the camera, and the consumer can scan off the title or off the windshield of the car the VIN number. And in the next step, the system goes off. In this case, goes in our setup, goes to DAT, does a VIN decoding, and pushes back all the information. Asks the customer to confirm, is this the right car? Is this your car? Well, if that's all okay, it then, as a next logical step, launches the camera and asks the customer to go around the car and actually take a couple of pictures, and really start to animate the journey. And you can see here in that little video how it works actually. And when the customer now goes out, takes all the pictures, finishes that, from the outside is the current state. We're not at a stage where this is working inside, so there's your next gap that needs to be still addressed. The pictures get uploaded to a server. The server is powered or enhanced with an artificial intelligence. That artificial intelligence takes the pictures and actually produces a damage report on the car, and it will play it back once the customer has finished filling in mileage and other sorts of informations, so that actually the consumer can then check, hey, has the AI declared the right damages? So actually what happens, the entrepreneur, the company that wants to buy the car, gets confidence that the pictures that are taken and the damages are declared are double checked by an independent source and by the customer confirmed that they are really damages. Now, the customer has a chance to delete the pictures, but in that process, we keep those pictures in the back, and the buying entity can still query the customer saying, like, why did you delete that? If there's no explanation, the customer can say, hey, it's just a light effect. There is no dent, there is no scratch. So you become an interactive process, but you actually add the independent third authority, which today very often is an inspection company that has to physically go and see the car. You take it out by using this artificial intelligence. But obviously there's more data that you want to know. And here's the next kind of piece of imaginative story here. And there are two ways that you can tackle that. It's all about the health of the car. Was the last maintenance done on the car? Is there any pre-scheduled maintenance that has to be done soon? How do we get to this data? And I mean, we've taken this little picture here of, you showing that little cloud. But what I'm really suggesting here is, work like a 21st century online company. You could send out an OBD2 reader to a customer and just ask him to plug it in. That OBD2 reader connects to the app. Once it's plugged in, then the app can read out the technical data and the service maintenance history of the car. And by that, you actually have that additional part of information that actually can give you even more trust that this car has been well maintained, and that there's no looming defaults with it, such as brake pads need to be replaced in 200 kilometers or something like this, or there's a couple of other things broken that might become costly and actually drive the reason for a lower value. Now, this is one example of how it can work. There are other examples of companies that are actually building data layers now, where in the future, in the not so far future, actually, you'll be able to connect through these kind of data as long as the customer has consented to sharing it on an API layer that is going to be available across Europe. So, but back to that OBD2 and behaving like a 21st century online office or a company. What you do is basically you send that OBD2 reader out, because it's a technology that already exists today. You explain in a video on your app how it works. The customer does it. When you send it, you send the customer automatically a return poach, so that actually he can send it back. You put it in you put that poach to DHL or whomever, and as soon as DHL has this, you get a notification. You can actually already then tell the customer, hey, I've got your evaluation now ready, and here it is, and it's based on all this information that you've shared with us. And that's how we actually can build a really reliable online trade-in. And I'm sure a lot of you might be sitting there saying that, what is he saying? Will the customer not want to do this in 5 minutes or so? Well, don't know how many of you have lately bought a house or a car. Last time I checked, this is still for normal people the two biggest purchases that they do, and they're not purchases for a week or so. Well, if you go for a mobility concept and you just need a car for a week, fine. But if you want to buy a car and own it, you're not doing that on a flick of a click. You do it really well planned out, thought about. You might overcome the test drive thing by saying, hey, you know what? Nowadays cars are very similar. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos. I've informed myself. I maybe used the car of a friend or whatnot. That all works. But customers will ultimately always want to really have confidence in this. And I think to get this confidence, to tell the customer, hey, this part of the process, to actually give you those last 500 to 1,000 euros on your trade-in, we need a bit more information, and we need 24 to 48 hours from you. I think if you explain that to a customer in a decent way, then the customer will actually go with that, and he will commit to that. That's just a little bit of an idea, a little bit of thinking that I wanted to share here today with you. Of how things could be done in the future, and maybe also, spark your thinking about, now we've talked about realities of today, but what about the challenges that are coming tomorrow? Thinking about battery health, and again, our OBD2 reader might come into play here, but also think about safety systems. If a sensor on a driverless system is broken, that can become very costly in the future, and you want to know about this when you trade in those cars, right? But likewise on the battery health, if you buy a 4-year-old car and it has been charged very badly, and the battery is down to 70% or something like this, might have a considerable impact on your residual value. So you want to know about this. So we got to work on technologies and how to get this, and how to get this actually as part of your trade-in. Likewise, infotainment. Infotainment is becoming very, very important. And if you look at most of cars today, they're well connected. They have either Apple or Android CarPlay or sharing instances. So you're not too limited, but what you got to look at as well is like how much actually does that technology stack in the car allow for, right? How much mirroring technology does it allow, and how many apps and functionalities are working on this? That's going to make a difference in valuation in the future. There might be coming an app up that we all don't know about yet that might become really a killer sales feature for your car. So, you've got to keep an eye open on things that are not on our radar today, and they will be become very important. So, yeah, to round it all up, and just to talk about like, well, is it all possible? I think absolutely, right? If we look at today, AI exists and you can actually use it. We actually do it in Manheim Express since about February, every day with our customers. Self-service is something that customers want to do and actually are getting more accustomed to, and it gives you the right reassurance. The confidence in that report can only grow over time, but I'm very, very sure that the more you train with it, the more you use it, the more use you will get to it, and the better will your valuations get, right? So can a car actually be underwritten without even physically seeing it? I think yes, and I know that for a fact that some of the online players are doing it right now, probably with a lot of risk. And I know there is statistic calculations that you can do on like how much risk do you take on, but I'm very sure every CFO would appreciate a business case where you can say, hey, we'll invest a bit more into technology, we'll do X, Y, and Z, and actually we're going to minimize that risk. Most of these companies have tremendous valuations, as we've just seen, and they're based on efficiencies, and they're based on actually, what's the fantasy of revenues and profits. Well, the Carvana example is a very good one of a company that is scaling, but yet not profitable. So it's about time to think about these kind of little moves here, where actually, by doing this, you can avoid a loss, you can do the right valuation, and you can probably further increase your growth, but at the same time lower your risk. And doing that, there will probably be a possibility to do that online experience, basically from sell to buy completely. And with that, my presentation ends. Well, thank you very much for listening today. And if you have got the will to talk about what I've just presented, you all know my contact details. More than happy to do so. And over to you, Johan, again.
Okay, thank you. If you can unshare, then I will show to people a bit what we'll do right now. And thanks very much for your great flexibility, Sebastian. We know that you're a good speaker, so you can talk at any point of time. That's good. And if you got any question, we will handle them later, because Sebastian will come back a bit later. Now, I will show you a bit the planning. So we will put the Autorola one just behind our short break. So we've moved the program a bit later, so we'll move it 5 minutes later. So enjoy this comfort break. You can also go into the sponsors area or go to the networking area, which you can find on the left side of the screen. Thanks, and see you back at 2:10. Thank you.